Okay, we'll go up to Edit, down to Find. We're not going to change anything. I just want to be able to find a certain kind of text. Do a search for in text, all one word, no spaces, and I can hit Find Next. And it will jump to the next area, zoom out, where that image can be found. Here's an example. So for War of the Worlds, in text, image, colon, and then it tells me what image that needs to go there. In this case, War of the Worlds, the name of the image is TWOTW Corona 1. Cool? That's where I need to place that particular image. And that's how we'll be able to find it. Now, here's the fun part. Here's the challenge that you have to work with. If I just place a picture inside of my text, let's go up to File and Place. So here's Choreo 1. That's the image that needs to go with this text. And I'll place it right here. It's inside of its own little text box. It all looks good. If I was to place it in my picture, or excuse me, in my text, regardless what size it is, what are some issues that I have with doing that? Text needs to be wrapped around it. That's one issue. What's another issue that may come up? Think about this. What happens if my editor says, oh, I need you to change the size of your type? What does that do with my type? Bigger or smaller? Creates more pages. It changes where my text is going to be. So for instance, if I forget about text wrap just for a second, if I went in here and erased away this whole paragraph, all of a sudden my image is no longer on this page, it's been moved to another page. Make sense? What I need to do, I'll undo that, is I need to be able to link my picture with the text that it's on there. I need it to follow no matter where my text is. I need my image to follow that particular page. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is we need to anchor that picture to your text. It's an easy process, but there's just a lot of things to think about. We'll make it as simple as possible for you. Okay? And that's what the rest of these instructions allow me to do. So I've got my image. Right now it's in its own little text box. I can move it around, I can do whatever. I'm not going to worry with text wrap just yet. It's coming, it's coming. Y'all calm down, it's coming. Here's how to anchor your text in with what we have. Take your image, with it selected, we're going to cut it, edit and cut. I'm then going to choose my type tool, highlight my text area, so in this case right here. Then I'm going to go to edit and paste in place. What this is going to do is it's going to paste my image into my text. It's now in the line with the text. Check out what happened. Okay? So there it is. If I was to change up my text, watch what happens if I put a bunch of returns. See how it's following my text? Pretty cool. So now it's in line with my text. My anchor has been anchored in line with that. But now I've got some other unique challenges as well. First of all, what do you notice about this? It's covering up my text. It's also going off the edge of my page. I want to be able to place it specifically within one specific area. If I was to use my selection tools, I can click on the picture. I can actually move the picture around. I can move it up and down in this case. Here's another thing to pay attention to. I placed my image right here, so this is kind of its insertion point. What do you notice about this text and this text?
It overlaps and goes behind.
It overlaps one, goes behind another. Okay, here's the biggest thing to keep in mind. It's the one thing that gives me the most trouble. When I turn on text wrapping only affects text that's on top of your picture, right? So if I text wrap this, which text is going to be affected? The top or the bottom? Just the bottom. The bottom text is only going to be affected. So when I turn it on, you can add text wrapping. Watch what will happen. I'll even make it smaller so you can see the difference. Here's my text wrap. Turn it on. You can see what's been wrapped. there's my text wrap. This is not going to be wrapped up as well. The reason I say you got to keep this in mind, because when you flow your text, it's only going to affect after the insertion point, the text that's below the image, regardless where you place it. And you're going to have to kind of design around that. Not a hard thing to do. Here's the next thing. So if I was to add or delete, it'll stay in line. But I want to take it a step further. I don't just want my images to be in line with my page. I want them to be always at the bottom of my page, regardless if it's on the left or the right-hand side. I want it to stay at the bottom of the page. Cool? Not just in line. Here's the second thing. We need to open up the anchor options. To do this, I've got my image selected. Hey, check out the little anchor at the top. That means it's been anchored somewhere. I can either control click, and there's my anchor options, anchored object options, or I can find the same thing under object. There's my anchor options as well. Here's the options that we have. By default, my images are going to be in line with the text. Nothing wrong with that. What I want to do is customize it. So we're going to choose custom. This will give me a lot more options to work with. First of all, how do I want it to be in line with my text? How do I want it to be customized to my page? What I want to do is I want to place my image for my specific design self here at the bottom of my page margins. Cool? Either that side or that side. So it's going to be relative to whatever side of the spine it's going to be on. Does that make sense? Am I losing people? Okay. You'll see why I'm going slow with this. So, turn on relative to spine. Doop. In this case, what point of the spine? I want it to be the bottom. In this case, we'll do the bottom, either left or right-hand side, depending on what page it comes up on. The second thing is, and that's just for the anchored object. As far as its position goes, I want it to be relative to the text frame that it's in. Actually, the margin. I want to do the page margins. I can do the page margins. I can do the whole page edge, text frame, depending on where it's at. When I start changing this up, first of all, you'll notice I can choose this. I'm going to choose it from there as well. And I can also change where it's going to be at. In our case, it's offsetting by a little bit. I'm going to change that to 0. When I do that, check out where it's positioned itself. Down here at the very bottom, either left or right-hand corner of my page margin. Does that kind of make sense? Kind of, sort of? Okay. You'll see why this is really cool in just a second. Okay. For the most part, that's what I want. That's all good. And I can either turn on or turn off manual positioning. You can leave that up to you. If you leave it unchecked, when I say OK, I can still move this around and place it wherever I want to. So if you wanted a specific placement, you can do that as well. Okay, so here's my page, my image. Notice also what I have up here. Well, oh, come on. Let's go over here. There we go. Oh, come on. See the little Y, the little yin mark? The Y mark, the yin mark, is the anchor for the image. Okay, so wherever that Y mark is, that's just the computer telling it, hey, there's supposed to be an image that follows this text. So keep that in mind. That's your anchor point, or your invisible mark for that one. So wherever this is, it dictates where my picture is. If I was to move this Y mark to this page, it's going to move this image to this page as well. So let's get rid of some text. Delete, delete. Another line, okay? One more line, watch my image jump. Doop, to that side. Pretty cool. It automatically placed it to this bottom point right here. Now, problem is, yeah, there it goes. Now the stuff kicks in. The problem is, what happens with this text? It's on top of it, so it's not going to wrap around it as well. Got to pay attention to this. Let's see, I'll undo what I did. Let's put everything back. Let's move it to the other page. So I'm going to add lines this time. Just hit a bunch of returns. Do, 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 do. Okay? So there's my Y point. It's going to continue wrapping. At least it's going to wrap everything that's after that point, even if I did that one. But it's not wrapping this text. Do you see why I say it's really tricky? But it'll continue wrapping, and if I keep going, it'll actually bump it to the next page. Right there, down there as well. So the wrapping works, but only for the text that's after your insertion point. Here's how I work around that. So let's get rid of all the returns that I just put in there. If I wanted to, I can change the size of my, let's deselect, the size of my text box. Got my text box selected, I can bring it up. Whoop. That also put my insertion point. But when doing that, it will allow me to wrap the rest of my text as well. So now, even though I move it around or I can add extra insertion points, my image will stay with it. Sorry, I've added too many returns. I don't mean to confuse y'all. The main thing is, when you place your images on there and you want the text that's above your image to also wrap, you'll need to change your size of your text box. Let me show you another one that would make more sense. I've already placed a couple of them in here. Where is chapter 2? Oh, there's another chapter. Hey, it moved over. If I placed it right here, so there's that. Where's my insertion point? Aha, there's my insertion point. If I wanted the rest of the text to flow around it, I can change the size of my text box. And I can change the position of this as well. Obviously, I didn't redo that. Let's find another one. Aha, here's another one. There's the insertion